It is currently 11:55 at night. It's about to hit midnight in about 5 minutes or 4 minutes, and we're going over breaker and failure swings. Hopefully, this recording does not last long, in which I probably won't make it last long because I low-key have to go to bed because it is, like I said, now 11:56 as you can currently see at the bottom right. We're on the DXY, also known as the dollar index on the hour. And I'm going to say this one more time. We're going over breaker and failure swings. Okay, now what are these swings exactly? We're going to go ahead and draw a little diagram. Okay, first we're going to put a little text box. We're going to say this is failure swing. Then we're going to say this over here is breaker swing. Okay, there's two types of swings and there's only two types of swings. Okay, failure, for example, we're going to do bearish examples only. Is this on gray? No, it's on yellow. Wait a second, let me change it to gray before we start. Just set it to gray. There we go. So a failure swing looks something like this. Let's say price is heading higher. Boom. We got that high here. And then price tries to come back up. Fails to break that high. And then begins to, crash. That right there is your failure swing. Okay? That right there is your failure swing. Because right along this area here, or I can circle that a little bit. Let me adjust this and put it higher. Right around this area, not even right around it, right here, you can see that price tries to come up and seek liquidity up here, but it fails to do so, resulting in a failure swing. Now, a breaker swing is literally the complete opposite. For example, price is, headed up. What the world? Price is headed upwards. Comes down a little bit for retracement. There's a boom. Hit down. Up. Now, what price will do is it will, for example, say it comes down lower again. It'll seek it one last time, and then shift lower, come back up, and then completely dump, okay? So, yeah, failure, and then breaker swing, okay? Failure is it fails to break a higher, resulting in or fails to break the previous swing, or just fails to break a swing in general, resulting in a reversal. And then a breaker swing is it has the ambitiousness, I think that's already ambitiousness, to seek this high and show willingness to reverse by creating a breaker structure and a breaker. Okay, the reason we call this a breaker swing is because this is exactly how a breaker forms. It must break, for example, a bearish breaker block. It must purge a point of buy side liquidity before the breaker even begins to form. Matter of fact, that is the beginning of the breaker forming, when it does take out buy side liquidity, and then it comes lower, activating the breaker block, and then price returns back up into it, and then it continues lower. So the breaker block will be something like right here, for example, and it comes back into it and dumps. That's why we call it a breaker swing, because that's literally how a breaker forms. But not including the breaker block, this is a breaker swing, okay? A failure swing is when price is about to reverse, but it can either do two things. It can seek liquidity, or it can fail to seek liquidity, showing weakness towards the highs and eventually wanting to drop lower, okay? So there's two scenarios: showing weakness in the opposite direction, or manipulating in the opposite direction, okay? This is manipulating in the opposite direction, and this is showing weakness in the opposite direction, like it doesn't want to go there. This one heads in that direction, but temporarily. That's why we call it manipulation. So let me go ahead and, wherever my drawing tool went, but right here along this area is where the breaker swing really forms. It's right around there, okay? Or if you want to keep it simple, it's this right here. How can I draw that? For example, this, this, this. That's all it looks like. Without all the other lines, this is what it looks like. And then this is a failure swing. We got up, we got down, we got up, and we got down. That's this is really not that hard, as you can clearly see. Just I don't know why I added all the complicated stuff, but this is the simplicity of it, okay? This one fails to break the high. This one manipulates and breaks the high. AKA it purges liquidity before going lower, okay? Now, since you understand that, let's go ahead and 36 drawing, so that's probably this. But let's go ahead and go to the charts and look at this for ourselves, okay? A couple examples of this. So let's go to a random point. Eeny, meeny, miny, moe, catch tiger, bite so no. So right around this area here, let's look and see what happens. So we have a failure swing right here. I wish I had, matter of fact, I'm gonna make that real quick. Let me make that a call out setting. Gonna make it maybe gray and have the text to be something like this. And I'm gonna name it failure swing. I'm gonna have the border be that color. Yeah, that's nice. I like that. So we name that as failure swing. There we go. Now I got a new tool to use. So we got a failure swing right here, as we can see. We got this high after it purged liquidity back here. Purged liquidity back here. Price wanted to come back up and purge this high, but it failed to do so, creating a failure swing, showing weakness to the upside, and like price like, ugh, I'm tired. I don't want to go up. I want to go lower. And then it truly does go lower after that. It really does drop. And as you can see, it's hit midnight. So I should be asleep right now, but I'm not because I'm providing content for you. Okay? And then we hit a bottom. We stopped. And then guess what? Another failure swing. Look at that. That's so convenient that I just made that setting. I might make the text color a little bit lighter though. It's something like that. And let me resave it. That's failure swing. There we go. It looks a little better. As we can see, price tried to come lower and purge this low here, or seek it before going higher. It tried to, it sought it, but it couldn't do it. It failed to do so, okay? Which resulted in price reversing. Okay, which resulted in price reversing. Now, failure swings and breaker swings, well, hold on. Yeah, failure swings and breaker swings can either be reversals or continuations based off where the market is currently at. If we're at like an all-time high, then a failure swing or a breaker swing could reverse the market. Or if we're going lower and we have like a little miniature retracement and we form like a failure swing at the end of the retracement or a breaker swing at the end of the retracement, that'll be a continuation. So this can be used for continuations or reversals, but as we can see, it's mainly forming at reversals, but that's not what it's mainly used for. It's not, oh, you look for it at reversals or you look for it. No. It can be used in close any situation if you had no where the market wants to go. If you got a nice bias, if you know, and then you use failure swings and your breaker swings as your confluences to take entries or however you want to use them. But that's another example there with the failure swing, and as you can see, price proceeds to head higher very, very viciously and very aggressively. It heads higher, okay? And right here we got a breaker swing. If you don't notice this, we got this low here. Price comes below it, breaks it, comes back up, and then we got this breaker right along here that forms. That's why it's called a breaker swing, because it forms a breaker. This is how a breaker is formed within, just like this pattern here, this down, up, purge, and then activation of breaker block. That's literally how it forms. It returns back to the breaker block that was formed within the breaker swing and heads higher temporarily, but later creates failure swings and goes lower. So we do have a failure swing up here too. Failure swing, and I'm starting to notice over time that failure swings are pretty powerful. Breaker swings are still powerful, don't get me wrong, but I'm starting to see that failure swings, it shows more of a weakness. And with breaker, you're kind of gambling, but with failure, that it doesn't want to go in that direction because it's weak. It doesn't want to go in that direction. It's just like, nah, I don't want to do that right now. As you see here, we got this low right there. Price tries to come below it and seek it. Nope, doesn't do so. So that's a failure swing. Right here, we got a breaker swing. Price comes down, breaks that low, but it doesn't push through. So that creates another breaker swing right here, coming down into this low, and then coming back up, activating this gigantic breaker block right here, and respects the equilibrium of it, pushing price higher. Okay, if you want to see that for yourself, this is the breaker right here. Turn on our equilibrium, and if I draw this out, you'll be able to see it easier. But yeah, you get it. Price is respecting the equilibrium of the breaker block after the breaker swing has occurred, forming that breaker. Because whenever a breaker swing forms, a breaker forms also. That's why it's called a breaker swing. I don't know how many times I'm going to say that, but I need to drill that in your head so you can understand that. A breaker swing and a breaker block, they're not two different things. They're basically the same thing. It respects the equilibrium of the breaker block and sends price higher, as we can see. Then we got a failure swing right here. Fails to break that high and this high right here and proceeds to dump. You may be like, well, this is the holy grail. Every time this forms, it just goes crazy. No, don't even go that far. Okay. I don't know how many times I'm gonna say this, and I'm probably gonna say this in every video that has a concept by itself. But do not do that because you will get cooked. Use your other confluences to make sure that the failure swing or breaker swing is valid and it truly wants to go in that direction, in whichever direction it forms. Okay. But we also have another failure swing right here, and it goes higher. Pretty amazing, isn't it? Yep, goes higher. But this is current price action, so we don't know if it's going to reverse from here or what it's going to do. We really don't know. But there is a breaker swing currently forming, and if it comes back down and breaks that low, then the breaker will be right about there. That would be your breaker if it comes below this low, because this is live price action. This is right now, like at 12 o'clock in the morning. But yeah, there's a breaker swing right here to end it off right here. Should I? Nah, I'm not gonna do it. But if, like I said, if it does come below this low, there's your breaker right there, and it should eventually go into it. I might edit this video later in the morning and see if it does, and I'll add like a little 10-second screenshot at the end of the video showing you if it did it or not. But that was our last example, this breaker swing that literally just happened a couple hours ago. And we reached the end of this pretty short recording. I wanted to make it short but informational. It's about 12 minutes and 40 seconds. Not too long, pretty short. This is the JJ Classic, but I normally keep it short and sweet. I'll be in this video here, and I hope I taught you well. I hope you absorbed it to where you can use it in the market and take advantage of it. And I'll see you on the next one. Peace.